Why do kids struggle in summer? Every year, even kids who sail through the school year without a problem. This is one of the questions that I hear most often from parents in my practice. And the reason that it keeps happening year after year is that most parents are solving the wrong problem. If you're a parent of a school age child, you know exactly what I mean. It's the first Monday of summer break, no one has anywhere to be, and by 9 a.m., the child who just completed a successful school year is melting down over which cereal bowl they got. There's a specific tightness in your chest in that moment, a low-grade dread mixed with genuine confusion because nothing you're doing is working and you don't understand why. By noon, they're telling you that they're bored. By 3 p.m., you're counting down to bedtime. Here's what I want you to know. This pattern isn't a parenting failure, and it isn't a kid problem. It's a predictable neurological response to a specific transition, what I call the predictability drop. And once you understand it, resolving it becomes far more straightforward than you think. Now, I'm going to walk you through what's actually causing summer meltdowns and give you the three-part framework that I use with families in my practice to move through the predictability drop quickly. Stay through to the end, and I'll show you what this looks like in 2 weeks. And the difference is striking. Here's what most parenting advice on summer transitions gets wrong. The default assumption is that summer behavior problems are caused by too much screen time, not enough activities, or kids who just need time to adjust. So parents respond by filling the schedule. Camps, play dates, structured play days designed to replicate the school year. Here's what that misses. The problem isn't what your kids are doing, it's what their nervous systems are missing. Predictable routines serve as what developmental psychologists call external scaffolding for children's self-regulation. Research on naturally occurring family routines consistently links predictable daily patterns to better child daily behavior. Things like better regulation and better child health and parenting competence across multiple studies. Think about your child's developing brain as running multiple processes simultaneously: self-regulation, social processing, emotion management, learning. Predictable external structure is the charging cable for all of those processes. If you think of like a computer and they've got a charging cable going in the computer, it's like your child's charging cable. And when school provides consistent transitions and consistent behavioral expectations, your child's brain gets to conserve regulatory energy for things that it actually needs energy for. When summer arrives and that scaffolding disappears overnight, it isn't experienced as freedom by a developing nervous system. It's experienced as a sudden power cut. The brain now has to generate its own structure in real time, a capacity that isn't fully developed until the mid-20s. That's the predictability drop, not misbehavior, a regulatory system running on empty. And here's why the instinct to add more activities backfires. More activities mean more transitions, more decisions, more novel simulation to process. And you're increasing the regulatory demand on a system that's already depleted. What actually works is counterintuitive, and it's what I'm going to walk you through right now. The framework I use with families has 3 components, and all 3 directly address what developing nervous systems need when external scaffolding is removed. First, consistency is the piece of summer parenting that most parents understand in theory but misapply in practice. And the most common mistake that I see is trying to replicate the school day. Breakfast at 7:30, then an craft time, and then an outdoor activity at 9, then lunch at noon, and very specific throughout the day. Within 2 weeks, families have either abandoned entirely because it's unsustainable, or they're in a daily power struggle over the schedule itself. What developing nervous systems actually need isn't a packed schedule. They need anchor points, predictable, fixed moments that the rest of the day hangs off of. Research on family routines consistently finds that it's the presence of a regular, predictable practice that supports child well-being. In my practice, I consistently see families succeed with 3 anchor points. A predictable morning start is the first one. You don't need a rigid wait time. What you need is a consistent beginning, getting dressed, brushing teeth, and having breakfast before screen time or free time. This is the anchor that replaces the school bell. It signals to your child's brain that the day has officially begun. Other examples are a morning walk, or helping breakfast be made in the kitchen, or reading for 15 minutes before anything else starts. The second anchor is a shared midday reset, something that marks the middle of the day and transitions from the morning's activities to the afternoon. Lunch together, a quiet read aloud, even a brief check-in about the afternoon plan. What matters is that it happens at roughly the same time each day. The third anchor is a predictable wind-down ritual, something that signals the active day is ending. A consistent dinner, a walk after dinner, a screen-off time followed by reading, or a calm activity. This is the anchor that most families drop first because of all the excitement of summer, often late nights, activities that keep you up as the sun is out longer. And this one makes the biggest difference for how the next morning goes. Everything in between can be flexible. These anchors do the work. Now, here's what surprises most families. You don't need all 3 to be perfect to see a shift. Even one anchor point held consistently gives your child's nervous system something to orient around. Start with one that feels most manageable and build from there. Okay, part 2. You may think that more choices in summer, more freedom, more autonomy helps kids to adjust to the unstructured time. And giving kids some say in their day is genuinely important for their development. But here's what the research on children's executive functioning actually shows. Unlimited, open-ended choice is genuinely harder for developing brains to navigate than a smaller set of options within a clear structure. So think about your own experience. An open day with no shape to it can be harder to manage than a day with a few things already decided. For children whose brains are still developing, that effect is much stronger. So what works is what I call the predictable decision windows, specific moments in the day when choices happen, with a small number of options to choose from. Instead of open-ended, what do you want to do today? Which requires your child's brain to generate options and evaluate them and get started, you offer a simple choice in a predictable moment. You might say, after breakfast, you can choose the park or the pool. 2 options, same time each day, the mental load drops, and so does the friction. Other examples here would be things like, this afternoon you can pick one, a craft or baking something. Before dinner, you choose outdoor time or a game. The window and the number of options matters more than what the actions actually are. Here's the part that most parents don't expect. The moment you stop asking, what do you want to do? And start offering 2 options at a predictable time, the arguing about what to do drops significantly. Not because you've taken away choice, because you've made it manageable. Okay, part 3. This is the component most summer parenting advice leaves out entirely. And it's often the reason the first 2 parts fail. Now, children's nervous systems physiologically synchronize with their caregivers. Heart rates, arousal levels, regulatory states. This isn't a metaphor. Research on parent-child physiology synchrony shows it's operating at a biological level through hormonal and autonomic nervous system mechanisms. So in high synchrony pairs, caregiver and child, their heart rates actually move together, and acceleration or deceleration in one is matched in the other within less than a second. And this process is called co-regulation. It continues well beyond infancy. Research on preschool-age children show that the moment-to-moment emotional patterns between parent and child directly predict children's self-regulation development. And your child's developing regulatory system is being shaped in real time by the emotional tone of your interactions. So when summer arrives and parents are managing their own regulatory challenges, the mental load of children and their summer logistics, altered work schedules, constant presence of the kids being around, and maybe you got used to them being at school, that stress state transmits directly to the child that you're trying to help settle. It's like trying to calm a choppy lake by driving a speedboat. The wake that you're creating is actually part of the problem. And so, parent self regulation isn't about being perfectly calm, it's about having a 90-second practice that you can use before the high demand moments that you can already predict are coming, before the morning transition, before the post lunch energy shift, before the wind down. In my practice, I work with parents on identifying their own predictability drop, the moment in that summer day when their own regulatory capacity is lowest. And they can work to build a brief intentional pause there. Because when your system is anchored, your child has something to co regulate with. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, I want a complete system for this, not just for summer, but for every behavior challenge across the year, that's exactly what my free workshop walks you through. And I'll show you how consistency, choices, and parent self regulation work together as part of a research backed framework that covers every area of parenting behavior. The link is in the description. It's at drlindsayemmerson.com/workshop. And before we get into what to expect once you start, comment anchor below and tell me which of these anchor points you're going to try first. I read every comment and I can't wait to hear from you. Now let's talk about the timeline. And here's the piece that most parenting resources skip. And it's the reason families abandon the frameworks that would have actually worked. So days 1 through 3, you can expect some pushback. Your child's nervous system is used to school's external structure and will resist new anchor points, even gentler ones. This is normal and it's actually useful data. The resistance tells you the anchors are registering. By the end of the first week, most families I work with notice the mornings are a little smoother. Not perfect, just less explosive. The anchor points are starting to feel familiar rather than imposed. And into the second week of summer, something shifts. Children who were melting down daily start moving towards anchor points on their own, asking for the morning routine, expecting the midday reset. That's not compliance, that's a nervous system that has found footing. Remember that first Monday I described, the cereal bowl meltdown by 9 a.m., the boredom declaration by noon, and counting down to bedtime by 3? That's what it looks like when kids struggle in summer without the scaffolding that their nervous system needs. Now, a week into the framework that I've walked you through today is the distance between that Monday and the next week when you can actually be waking up feeling like this is going to be a great sunny summery day. If you want to go deeper, a complete research-backed system for behavioral challenges, not just in summer, but all year long, my free workshop is where to do that. Register at drlindsayemmerson.com/workshop. The link is in the description below. And before you go, comment summer to let me know that you are thinking about how to make this a great summer for your kiddos. Now, if you have another minute to watch a video and you're thinking ahead to the end of summer when your child's going to be going back to school, you're going to love this next one.